Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's report is for, Monday, Tuesday, since Monday's a holiday, but February, that would be the 19th, 20th. So looking at the ES, we're at a pretty decent spot. We came down, retested the ABM yellow. You can see that right down there, the DO fast, 5,007 is the number. Makes it very easy. Below that, definitely is more short territory, and then you're looking at, the magenta is right in between, sort of that sweet spot, the halfway point. That would be at the 83 level, and then of course the ABM green is also at the 76% level, so that ties in quite nicely with expected ranges for retests. We're right at the precipice, breaking below that. We're already a little bit below the 33, but just really pretty connected as far as where the MBI magenta and that are about to cross over. We've been in DOC spread. It was the reset of short-term buyers here in the steel on the DOC that has given enough impetus to hold things from falling down any worse. But you can see the breakdown, the shakeout. We finally got the shakeout gold here flattening, so that trend could be softening a little bit. We need to see that breakdown. So we're definitely looking for any move of the shakeout moving below zero, because at this particular stage, it's got to start increasing and get back to take out the previous highs in order to stay congruent. And as we've talked about, there are still some positive extremes going all the way back to this line right here that we have down at 4661. That would be a major version of a correction. So our expectation would be something more modest in between these lighter ranges for now, simply to just fill in the exuberance of the run. And of course, as we see oil rise and these other elements within the economic situation, CPI, and that doesn't look like the Fed's going to be able to do anything. Will that start to have a material impact in market perception? To some degree, but you also have the fact that the inflation value of things goes up and the market is not going to suffer that haircut. It just becomes a question of, is business being materially affected towards a recession type situation, and, whether that would be severe or not, and whether they'll be able to pump any, additional funds into the economy as an election starts to heat up, and that's going to have all sorts of gridlock components, and there's going to be all sorts of vitriol and the usual. From an NQ, though, you can see much weaker already. Had been MBI magenta below yellow for quite some time already, so it's likely to face that 76%. And even if it did at this particular stage, would not hold. Supported that without support from the S&P. MBI gold on it, though, continuing to be relatively supportive and still pretty decent from a shakeout standpoint. So it's not one of those where you're expecting everything to cave, especially since we really don't have that strong a MBI white here moving higher. Yes, but has it really eclipsed any of the thresholds? If it breaks above the red, usually we look for a little bit more softness, like you saw right here when it eclipsed that and it came down a little bit. But again, it's all going to be relative to how overall the broader market is viewed. And again, we talked about this. It would become more attractive to be in treasuries as the yield increased, which it has. And now that there's this less exuberance with the idea of rate cuts, you're going to have more competition, at least from a market space, especially after the gains so far this year, to have some money in treasuries with the improved yield. So while people aren't thinking that rates will increase, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will decrease, which would be definitely an incentive there. This becomes the problem, the oil, and if that gets out of hand, well over that 80 handle, I think you're going to have a lot more difficulties, because it's going to be clearly evident that they're not going to be able to contain the rate of inflation increase beyond what has already existed. There's no relief whatsoever at all. If production and everything were moving in a line that were absorbing any increases in demand, we would see oil dropping into the under the 60 range, and it hasn't. And that indication is problematic because it really puts a lot of upward pressure on price through everything, because everything gets shipped and energy is used for all of it. So from a euro standpoint, look, they're going to fight this back and forth, but again, impossible for the eurozone to hold on to that kind of improvement, given what we're seeing from an oil increase, because again, they have to trade into dollars to get that. Gold definitely should be taking a pretty decent jump from all of this. It's been quite muted, and again, we've talked about the reasons why that can take place. But if oil continues to rise, then the expectation for a spike of inflation is definitely going to be a motivation for gold. And I think for the most part, we've seen the impetus has been moved towards crypto because it's easier, it's faster. And that's really driven the Bitcoin, not to mention the fact that you've worked out a lot of these negatives with the FTX and all those other things, and that has allowed for a much cleaner approach. Zero short activity at this particular stage. Cyan under red is always buy from that 50% move. So, I mean, this was all pretty clean and congruent. No shocks with any of that. ETH matching that move, and then you get into the arguments, which is better, each ETH or Bitcoin doesn't really make any difference. These are the same speculative models and used similar to the approach of gold, just with a higher beta. From our 50K standpoint, we had the pop up, took the short in between there, and that's pretty much even to where it is. We had a brief little spurt with it, but once the MBI white came up, we expected to move towards 50%, which is exactly what happened. And the MBI white still leading here going into the end of that. We'll see if there's any positive impact from holiday break. Maybe get people excited when they take a chance to breathe a little bit. And, intraday, it was pretty simplistic. Buy, and then at the end of the day, sell. And that's pretty much how that worked out, clean and simple. So long and the short of it as I continue my road to recovery. As always, though, anything relevant, I will certainly put on the Skype chat. Trade well. Have a good one.